Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everybody for joining in for day 2 of our Mindful Ramadan, 7 ways to experience a mindful Ramadan. Yesterday we talked about reorienting our purpose for Ramadan, that mindfulness is not just a good to have, but it is the very purpose that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the month of fasting. Shahr Ramadan allazi unzila fihi al-Quran. This is the month of Quran, and this is the month of reflection. This is the month of mindfulness. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam, that I have prescribed fasting upon you, Allah says la'allakum tattaqun at the end of the verse, that it is for you to become muttaqeen, or those who have taqwa. And the way that we translated taqwa was that mindfulness of the constant presence and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we talked about that, how do we not make this Ramadan about how many things we're going to get done, but about who do we become after Ramadan, and we become mindful people. Today we're going to talk about mindfulness of constant presence and attributes of Allah, and how do we have this tool of mindfulness that we practice. And you guys all have heard about the terminology meditation, and somehow a lot of Muslims may think that, okay, it's pretty foreign to us and we're not sure where is the place of meditation in our being, but there is a beautiful tradition and example in the Prophet ﷺ and the scholars afterwards about meditating and reflecting, doing deep muraqabah, which is deeply being watchful and mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today we're going to talk about that if you want to become a more mindful person, how can we use the tool? How can we use the tool of mindful meditation in a way that we're practicing to become more mindful? And because mindfulness, all of a sudden you're doing everything as is, and you just transition from whatever you're doing to salah or fasting, and if you think that all of a sudden you're going to be thinking about or being conscious about or be mindful about the presence and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that may not happen. So how do we then practice that? How do we practice it to bring it in our life, in our mind, and we dedicate time for that? So today we're going to talk about first that mindfulness of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the presence of Allah first is that we are in the presence, our heart is in the presence of Allah. No matter what we're doing, we're in the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's beautiful that after the verses of fasting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. My slaves, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my slave asks you about me, and tell them that I am very near. Allah is always near and always present. That ujibu da'wata da'i idha da'a. Like whenever we call upon him, he's there to respond to our call. So it is a beautiful thing that right after the verses of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the presence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about that how near he is. So this is the condition of hudur al-qalb, which is also Imam Ghazali, when he mentions 6 ways to be really mindful in your prayer, he talked about this as the first requisite, that you have to have the presence of heart. Number 2 about the presence is that we need to really feel, we need to really try to bring that verse of how Allah is near and try to feel that, try to visualize it. And number 3 about being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that how present are we? How present are we? To understand that it's not just the presence of Allah, but the loving presence of Allah, to have that emotion attached to it. Like when we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, that we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection. Like we're asking when the mom and dad are walking and the child is walking and a stranger comes or a danger comes and the child runs to the mom and dad and holds them. And that loving presence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has so much more than that loving presence. That A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, scholar says that A'udh is actually a baby deer. That just like the baby deer is nudging and being by the side of its mom to be protected, that we're asking Allah with that type of love and protection and presence to always keep us in his protection. So it's a beautiful thing that when we say that be in the presence of Allah, so be mindful of the presence and nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2 is that are the attributes, that if we don't know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, we're not going to be able to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, out of all his beautiful names, he has given us 2 beautiful names to remember him all the time by. Bismillahir Rahman ar-Rahim, that we say ar-Rahman and we say ar-Rahim, that he's so merciful, he's so loving, that his mercy, it is said that it's divided by 100 parts, and he has given just one part in this world, that just one part, it was distributed among all people and all his creation from Adam alayhi salam to the last person to come, that all human beings, all jinns, all the animals, they all, the love that we see, all the caring we see, all the sacrifices we see are from emanating from that 1%. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the other 99% for him to show to us on the Day of Judgment. So what a beautiful thing it is to learn about who Allah is, how loving he is. And when we know that who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, his greatness, then we're able to have the presence, we're able to have the mindfulness of his attributes. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that if you want to meditate, and if you want to have muraqabah, or if you want to practice muraqabah, you want to practice this presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then focus on 5 names of Allah. Focus on five names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And first is Al-Raqib, and then Al-Hafid, and Al-Alim, Al-Sami' and Al-Basir. These are the 5 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Imam Ibn al-Qayyim says that we have to practice if we want to practice that mindful meditation. So Al-Raqib is someone who is always watchful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that he is watchful of all things in the heavens and earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always watching us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always watching us, always there for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is this watchfulness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. It's beautiful to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me. Who's watching you? Just like when we see the kids, and as they're learning to crawl and they go to the edge of the stairs and all of a sudden they stop, or they're about to fall, but somehow they're protected. These are the watchfulness of Allah and the system that is unseen to us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, not only Allah is watching, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also put a system of angels and things that we do not see that are protecting us. So Al-Raqib, the one who's watching. Like Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was on patrol, and when he saw that, when he was hearing this, he's overhearing this conversation about a mom and a daughter, and a mom was saying to add water to milk and to have more so they can get more money, and the daughter said that, Mom, our Khalifa Umar, he asked us not to do that. And he said, who's watching? Is Umar watching? And she said that he may not be watching, but my Allah is watching. And that is Al-Raqib, the one who is watching. Al-Hafid, the one who is always protecting us, guarding over us. Hafid, he's our guardian, Al-Hafid. Al-Alim, the one who knows the deepest of things, the secrets, the things that are open, the things that are secrets. Alimun bidhati sudur. Allah knows in the depth of our heart what we have in the depth of our heart. And how can we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our heart? Alim, Al-Sami' Al-Basir. And when we ask the people that we love the most, our spouses and people we really love, and we ask them that Al-Sami', and we say that, are you listening? Can you hear me? And we ask our husband or our wife, or our children, ask their parents that, did you really listen to me? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always listening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always hears. Just like they say that if you really listen, you will hear. If you really listen, you will hear. Same way, if you really listen to the silence of your heart, you will know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You really listen to the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same way, Allah is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always all hearing, He always hears. And Al-Basir, that all our eyes, all our sight can miss Allah, but Allah's sight will never miss us. Allah always sees. And we say to our loving people that, do you not see the type of stress we're going through? Do you not see the difficulty or the pain we're going through? Do you not see what I'm going through? And we ask this to even people that we think they love us the most, or we love the most. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is deserving of our love more than anybody else. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always seeing. Allah is all seeing. Allah sees. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees. Al-Raqib, Al-Hafid, Al-Alim, Al-Sami', Al-Basir. So the third thing we'll discuss then, the first we discussed about presence, and then the second attributes, and third we'll end with this, the tool of this mindful meditation, that how do we meditate? Take out about 5 minutes or 10 minutes whenever you're able to. And if I say, oh, do it at a certain time, then you might feel stressed. So just make it very easy. Be kind and curious. whenever you're practicing meditation or mindfulness, just be kind and curious to explore that mindfulness. Just practice. And the more you practice, the more you'll feel that. So that practicing it, you will see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence will come. You will be able to feel that. Empty your mind. So sit somewhere for 5-10 minutes, just be silent. And in that time, try to empty your mind from all other thoughts and just think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then make some dhikr, because you can say La ilaha illallah or Allah, and then Ar-Raqib, that Allah is watchful. Allah is always watching. Allah is watchful. Allah is always watching over us. Al-Hafiz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guarding over us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always protecting us. Al-Alim, Alimun bizati, so He knows the depth of my heart. He knows my pain and my difficulties. He knows everything. Al-Sami, He can hear me. He can listen to me. He will always hear my prayers. Al-Basir, He will always see me. I'm always within the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you bring this practice, at 5 minutes, you can increase it to 10 minutes, increase it to 15 minutes. And when you try to practice this, then that's when you're going to start to understand that we are actually feeling that presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you can transfer that into everything else in your life. You can transfer that in your prayer, you can transfer that in your Quran, you can transfer that in your salah. And this is how we can practice the mindfulness of the presence and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the abilities and tawfiq to be near to Him, to be present with Him. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the feeling and this understanding of how to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen. A blessed Ramadan, inshallah. We'll continue with our Mindful Ramadan series. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.